Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. So sorry that we started off a little late. We had some technical issues, seemingly on my side, because I don't know, the Wi-Fi here is wonky, and I have a hotspot, but apparently I was trying to use that. That wasn't working. But anyway, we're here. Good morning. Happy Thursday. This is the Bad coming to you from Sevierville, Tennessee. We're here for another couple of days. We leave Saturday, and then we are back up in the Northeast for the next Viva show. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning, buenos dias. Sevierville. Right?
Sevierville.
Yeah. I love it. I love those names. Sevierville. Hola, and then you said it with a straight face. Hola, mi gente, aquí con la Margarita from hot, a bit. The sun's not full out here in Tampa. Don't have my glasses on just yet. I'm clean. I gotta clean them, but so I can't read your comments because I'm blind as a bat without them. But here we go. Hope everybody is having a happy Thursday. I'm still half asleep, but yeah, let's have a great day. We have a great guest coming on today, and so tell us about your thunderstorm last night, and how did you know it was over?
Yeah, I can see it's on my end. I'm looking at Facebook and I'm frozen. So hopefully I will freeze in a nice way, because I hate when you get to those moments where you freeze and you're just like, yes. So I'll have to smile the whole time. Yes, we had a very bad thunderstorm run through here last night with wind gusts of like 50 miles per hour. And because we're on the mountain and we're on a cliff too, no less, like not a cliff, but we're up on we're not in the mountain. We're in a mountainous area. We're not in the actual Smokies specifically, but the place we're renting sits like on an edge, so you're up suspended in the on the porch. You're looking out, and man, was this stuff like really, because you live in Florida, when they say they have severe thunderstorms, they really mean severe thunderstorms. When they say that up in the Northeast, they don't know severe thunderstorms until you come to other places like the South or Texas or something like that. So it was crazy. Like, it just came in and it knocked the power out, and we were out of power from, like, I don't know what time I sent you that text message, but we were out of power for like 3 or 4 hours. And then it came back in the middle of the night, and everything's fine. So
how did you know it came back on?
Because all the lights were left on, right? So at like 1 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden I get woken up to like the fan on and the lights on in the room, and then like the rest of the house. And so I had to get up and turn everything off.
That's awesome. That is awesome, though. I love thunderstorms. A lot of people get scared, they jump. Since a child, I've absolutely loved the rumbling thunder, and then that shock of light that comes through, whether I'm driving or in the house, and I just love the sound of just the big fat raindrop, clap, 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 clap. I love it.
Well, it was definitely cool. You know what I mean? Like, it was a little freaky because when the lights went out, the place got really, really dark. I mean, it's very dark over here in general. And there's no candles. Thank God, like, I had flashlights. Plus you have, your phone flashlight. And so it was at that moment where you're just like, okay, you know what, let's just go to bed because there's nothing else to do. But it was, I really wanted to open the the doors, and like hear it and be sitting on that deck. But it was so windy that all that stuff would have been flying into the place, and I didn't want to be responsible for that.
No, of course. Because you got to put, the safety before anything. Safety before the pleasure. But yes, I totally get it. I love it. And here, we're the capital of people struck by lightning here in Florida. So, when everybody's running in, when thunder and lightning starts, I'm like coming out, oh my God, it's raining. So we just have to use caution. But yeah, I know, right?
So we'll push you out when the lightning starts, and we'll push you out so that this way we don't get hit. Yeah,
Good.
I know. Like I used to live in Sarasota, and there's a beach just south of Sarasota's Bradenton, and the beach over there, from my understanding, gets struck by lightning all the time, which is pretty interesting because lightning strikes on sand create some very cool glass structures.
Yes, it does.
So good morning, Tiffany, Brian. Good morning, Milagros. We're so glad you're here this morning.
Buenos
Welcome, welcome.
días.
So let's get going. Let's talk about our set our intention. We'll do our mantra, and hopefully our guest will be jumping on shortly. But we'll see when she comes on. But we will go ahead and start our conversation regardless. By the way, you look very beautiful today. I really like what you're wearing. I love the jet jewels and
Thank you, darling. You know, yesterday I was on a roll. I got dressed up yesterday too because I'm so in love with myself, honestly. But yesterday I dressed up, did my makeup, and no, I'm lying. I didn't do makeup yesterday. I just did my hair, and I wrote, and I printed, and I was very productive. So today I'm tired, as you can see, with the little bags under my eyes. And I said, so I didn't do my hair. This is just my moño, and I love it. And I said, you know what? Let me just leave my moño on. Because what is the main motto that you and I like to tell people? We like to teach it. We like to preach it. We have to live it, which is get up, get dressed, and show up. And sometimes I want to lounge in my
yeah.
pajamas. I don't feel, I don't have the energy level. So I test myself every week. I test myself to see how long, since I'm always home, how long I can stay in my PJs, like without getting up, showering, and getting dressed, or even getting into my painted clothes. I don't like to be dressed in the house. I look like a hobo. But so I'll try it once to see how long I can go throughout in my PJs without brushing my hair. And the longest I think I've done it was about 11:45 in the morning, where I just feel. Ugh. So I'm trying to go really like a whole day to like 5 and then take a shower. Um, because why is it so hard for us to just chill? Why do we feel we have to take a shower and get dressed to go nowhere? So it's just for my sanity. I want to break all those barriers of things we put up, that things have to be a certain way. So today I said that I'm just gonna beautify, because I have a video to make later. Buenos dias, because it's a beautiful morning. Anybody else have
Yeah,
anything?
I discovered yesterday that we don't have any hot water in this place, and it's been slowly leaving. Like how you go into a place and you think, oh, it's just they don't have great hot water, or their hot water heater's small, so it's like you take a shower or a bath or something like that, and it doesn't get real hot, or they don't have the temperature up on it. And I thought that's what it was, because like the
Yeah.
first night that I was here, I took a bath because I was kind of like feeling a little sore, and it wasn't that hot, but I was like, okay, no big deal. It's probably just doesn't get that hot. Um, and then Karaya took a shower, and it wasn't that hot either. And then I went to go give Charlotte a bath, and it was real. She's like, Mom, this is really not hot. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Maybe we just were. Then all of a sudden we go to use it, and it's like there's no hot water. And I cannot stand cold showers. Like, if you want to torture me, put me into a cold shower, because that'll be that. And we went out yesterday. It was so hot, and where we were at Dollywood yesterday. It was so hot. We were so sweaty. All I wanted to do was come home and take a shower. and I get in there and it's cold and it's not getting hot. And I was so pissed off. I was like, oh my God. So I had to take a cold shower and I was already very grumpy just because yesterday started off as a really, really good day. And then it started to just get a little bit more stressful and a little bit more stressful. And then
Mhm.
by the end of the day, between the heat, the fatigue, and then the stress, it was like, okay, all I want to do is just come back, take a nice hot shower, get my pajamas, and everything will be fine. And nope, that was not the case. So yeah. So I have to talk to the person today. She had me
You know,
like flipping breakers.
and I love cold showers. I hate the hot water on my skin. Always. And then I discovered that it's best for your skin to have cold showers. But I have, like my sisters, they love scorching hot showers. It's so weird how we are. Good morning, Talia. My beautiful niece is on. Buenos días,
Good
mama. Dios te
morning,
bendiga.
Wanda. Good morning, Wanda. I'll see
Hi,
Wanda
Wanda.
on
Wanda's
I'll see
so
Wanda
good.
on Friday. Friday, Wanda's coming up to visit me up here, so that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny, right? How there's just certain things. But you know what the beauty is, to discover what is it that you enjoy. I believe sleeping and showering are the most vulnerablest times for our spirit. And I think when you sleep with good pillows on a comfortable bed, have your favorite blanket with you. Your sleep should not be uh, just regular. You shouldn't just whatever. Let me just get a spot. You must be comfortable, because not your body wakes up in pain the next day. You're tired. You're lagging. And your shower, anything can happen in the shower. I think those are the most vulnerable time for our spirits. So when you discover what it is that relieves the day's stress, that makes you feel very like one with all yourselves, then do it. Find that place and enjoy it. Like there's so many reports. Cold showers are bad. Hot showers are bad. Who gives a shit? Take a shower and the temperature that you like, and enjoy that space and time with you and yourself. Just like when you're
I
sleeping, just enjoy it. Hello, beautiful sister. What
and
do
good
you
morning,
think?
Stephanie. Morning, Janet.
What's Stephanie? Nieves, freckle face.
um, I think they're both good, honestly. Hot showers are really good. Hot showers help you clean a little bit better. Um, but hot showers also really help your muscles and circulation. And like coming from a therapeutic standpoint, hot showers are really good for that. And then followed by cold water. Like that's something that people don't understand, like especially if you have achy, like a bad back and all that stuff. Taking a hot shower is really, really good. And then putting cold water, like the last 5 minutes of the shower, putting cold water in the areas that bother you really helps because it reduces inflammation. But whatever makes you feel good, like cold showers make me feel awful. Like they really get me into a bad headspace. So I'm not going to do them. For somebody to
But
say that cold water, like when somebody makes a statement and says, "Oh, cold showers are the best," like if you take a hot shower, you're ruining yourself. It's like I'm not. I'm going to argue that point because I don't feel good with a cold shower. So how could it be bad for me and then cold showers be good if I'm not feeling good? It's a state of mind. But I
exactly.
like the combination. I love the combination because I do like the hot shower followed by that cold, spot shower in the area that's bothering me.
I
But
don't
anyway,
like
so
hot
we're at
showers.
8:20.
I,
We're
let
at
me tell you
8:20. So
though.
let's
Wait,
go ahead. Sorry, Gladiator.
I don't like hot showers. But I do warm, and then I end it with the cold because I do my face last and whatever and the conditioner. So I remove my conditioner from my hair and I wash my face in the shower in cold water. And that's how mic drop, and then I'm out. I
No, and that's good. You have a combination.
you
You do a
have to,
combination. I think,
yeah, but I don't do hot. I don't do hot water on my skin.
yeah.
I do warm. But I that's why I said you that's the whole part of self-discovery, right? That someone can say, "Oh, hot showers aren't good for you," and you're like, "Okay, that's your opinion. I love them. I feel at peace with it. My soul is happy. My spirit dances in the shower because when the hot water touches my skin, it's like, bam! You have to learn and love things about yourself that may be different from the other 10 people you're with. So, and that just goes to prove the point about love, self-trust, and all of that. But as it is 8:21, so let's start our day, right? Let's start the day.
Yes, and we apologize. We were 5 minutes late because of technical issues on my end. So yes, let's set our intention this morning. And if you could also share, we would love it. I know that I'm having issues. So for those of you that are tuning in, you keep seeing me freeze, but as long as you can hear me, that's good enough. All right. Our intention, as always, on the Viva show is to be intentional
And grateful. Be grateful.
Yep.
I'm
Go
trying to
with
share.
gratitude. Be grateful. Yep. Be grateful. Let me see if I can actually fix the setting. So set your intention for whatever it is today and then be grateful. Let me see if this helps unfreeze me
Just
too. I'm
set
like
them.
pulling off of everything that is having me on the Wi-Fi here and there. I'm just on Wi-Fi in the video. All right, that might have helped. Yeah, it might have helped to take it off my phone. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you. All right, so good morning, everyone, and let's do our mantra. Here we go. Say it loud, say it proud. I am a disruptor.
I am a disruptor.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am magically orgasmic.
Ole.
And I am beyond authentic.
And I'll keep it real.
All right. Okay, well, so I'm not sure what's going on with our guest. She is in across the ocean in England, but it should be at a fairly decent hour for her. So I'm not sure. We did send her. We didn't send her a reminder yesterday, but she knew last week, and she might have gotten the time incorrect, and so perhaps she'll jump on. But we can start this conversation, and if we have to do the conversation ourselves, we'll do the conversation ourselves. So the conversation is, if it could go back in time. That's a deep question, because how many times have we looked at it? If we could go back in time, what would we change? What would we do differently? Would we change anything? Because the bottom line is this, that who we are today is obviously a direct result of our past, good or bad, okay, and ugly, good, bad, and ugly. And there's so many times where we want to take the insight that we have now, which again was based on our experiences of our past, the knowledge that we have and insight, and go back and redo our lives. Like, oh, if I had this mindset when I was younger, sometimes it's fun to do, just to kind of dream and see what would I have done differently. But instead of saying it that way, why don't we just kind of look at it like, if you were to go back in time, what changes would you have made? Not based on what you've learned already, I guess, but what directions would have been different for you, considering when you had the choice to make decisions differently, what would you have done differently? So how about you, Gladiator Guru? And we want you to all participate in this, and listen, have fun with this. This is not meant to say like, oh, it's not that I don't love my life, I don't love my children, because any change we make could have completely created a different path for us, which means that it could have been without our children. So some people would feel guilty and go, I don't want to say that because I love my kids. But it's not about that. It's more about, if you could look at it and say, what path would I have taken? Like, if going back to this age, what would I have done differently? So do you want to start, Gladiator Guru?
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. See, a lot of people with the guilt, oh, but I can't do that because I have kids, or I can't say that because then will my kids think, you know what? who were you before your kids? That's what we want you to go back to.
Right.
Um, and why should you feel guilty? I tell my kids all the time when they argue that I didn't want any of them, that they were both accidents, but they're here, so I gotta love them, right? And so, and that's the truth, and they know it's the truth. I wanted to be a nomad since I was 13. I wanted to just up until I married my husband who passed away, and I was 42. I kept a duffel bag under my bed up until I was 42, because at any given moment I was gonna pack that bitch and take off. One day, my kids, when they were young, they're like, "Won't you just leave already?" And that's how my spirit was. So if I can go back in time, I would have followed my heart's desire and backpacked all across, where not the United States. Backpack. My thing was to go backpack across Europe, visit a lot of countries with just a backpack. And so if I could have gone back, that's what I would do. I would have fed that hunger in my soul from whatever past life person I was that still lingered in my early years. um I would have done that. I really would have done that. There's a lot of things we wish we could change, but they have defined us. Like me getting married at 16 and not being pregnant, which was a forced thing by my mom. And all that changed the whole trajectory of my life. So if I can go back in time and change many things, I would not hesitate. My kids know I love them. They're my life. I got 4 grandkids. They're here. I can't return them. And but if I can go back and change that, I would ran away from home when I wanted to and lived my life accordingly. Yeah, absolutely, with no regrets.
I
You?
would have definitely, I would have gone away to college, like away, not just in the same state. And I would have went by myself. Like I would have done it without knowing anybody, and I would have really looked into going away to a state that was really far away, to where like I really couldn't come home except for the holiday breaks. I think that would have made a really big difference in my life. I think it would have helped me create a lot more independence. I would have learned a lot more about myself, about my resilience, and not been so influenced by my where I live and the people around me. I think that having been around the people that I was around so often really helped. Well, it affected who I became as an adult. Let's put it that way. And in both a positive and a negative way. There were positives for sure, but there was an awful lot of negatives. And while I mean I take full responsibility of my life, I know I would have done things differently as an adult, and I would have been around different types of people. So, and the interesting thing is for both of us, it's a matter of pulling ourselves out of our environment. You wanted to pull yourself way out of your environment, and I wanted to pull myself out of my environment, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is look what we said. I said I wanted to live out of a backpack and travel the world. Start off because I and to this day I still do. Like, who's to say that next month I don't pack up and go and do exactly what I wanted to do at 13? But I've always yearned to learn from the people and the places in the world. And then you have your first thing was you would have went to college in a different thing. I know she'll be back on. um and I love that. I love the difference in the stories, because my school would have been the school of, my university would have been walking and meeting people and talking and learning firsthand. And then you have those that have like a college, and I think it's beautiful because they're all the same. It's how we want to learn. And the thing is that we do it at least before we die. And I think you went to college, you wanted something different. I traveled but to me, my traveling's this much when the world is like this. Um, and the people I've met on those travels have inspired me to want to just grab another backpack and take off, just go, just get lost.
Nancy, I know I'm freezing because, but you can still hear my voice. I'm having problems with my internet service here in the cabin. The reason I would have stayed, the reason I would have went to college, because for me that was a route that I wanted to take. I did want to travel as well, and I did travel prior to going to college. I believe that going into a different state, like a completely different state, meeting a different set of people, having different adventures would have put me into that trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I originally wanted to do when I was in, I think I was a sophomore or junior in high school, I wanted to join the Peace Corps. And the Peace Corps required you at that point in time, you had to have a college education, and they
Yeah.
still do.
Yeah,
Prior
still.
to prior to that, I think it was when, back in the 70s and the early 80s, I don't think that was a requirement, but it became a requirement. So I knew that I had to go to college, but it was like my father was so dead against me going into the Peace Corps. And so I just ended up getting sort of entwined in that college partying, fun, whatever kind of activity. And I could have done that. I think, again, if I had gone to like somewhere out west to go to college and been in the desert more, or been in the mountains more. And again, the key thing really was also to just be by myself,
Mm-hmm.
to meet new people that I didn't know before, because that's, again, like the piece that has really influenced me as an adult, was the fact that I still kept certain individuals in my life, and in my environment, and I stayed in my environment, which really didn't bode well for me later in life, but again, um, so I think that's what I would have done. And it would have been really intriguing to see what that would have, how, where I would have been, because I don't even think I would have never been back in New England. I don't think I would have ever moved back to Connecticut, even for a little bit, because once you're out there and you're exploring and you're meeting people, and then you start, especially if you start dating somebody that's from a different area, the likelihood of you actually going back to where you started, is less possible. You know what I mean?
I hear you. See, I hate Florida. I dislike it. We're not on good terms. Let me put it that way so it can sound softer around the edges, especially not in the summer. And you said you wouldn't have gone back to. I don't know how I survived 40 years of New England's winters, because when I was there taking care of mom at Janet's house, I'm like, how did I survive this cold weather? But I would go back home every spring and every fall, because there's nothing more beautiful than New England in the fall.
I
You know,
agree.
but I also agree with you. See, that's what I love. That's how I started this. Is like I've never said, oh, I wish I went to Harvard or Yale or um UCLA, UCLA, or that's, I love learning. Anybody who knows me knows that I love learning. Read up on everything. I love to learn, debate, and all of that. But to me, the freedom of the spirit has always been something that has been very important to me. Someone recently asked me if I plan on being my niece's friend. I plan on being alone for the rest of my life, and I said I love being single. I love going to bed by myself and waking up, and that's not even like on my agenda of discovering or even having a conversation with self. My conversation is like, where am I going next? What am I going to do? How am I going to make this happen? And what's going to bring me joy, that's going to settle in my core, that's going to have my soul and my spirit dancing together. That's like now I know exactly how to put it into words, but that's how I've always felt all my life. When I was in a relationship, I've always felt like out of place, like something was missing, like I was settling, or that I was, yeah, like I was cheating myself out of something. And then there were times when I was by myself, and then this has been the longest in my life um, that I have been single, and I absolutely love it. The yearning to learn more and to learn more through being present in places that are far from here is very strong. What's not strong is my bank account.
Yeah, mine either.
No, but if I could have done anything different back then, I would have built a solid financial institution within my means for a longevity. For me knowing back then that this is what I wanted to do was travel. I wish that I would have went to the university where they taught finances, because we didn't learn none of that in my home. We didn't learn the importance of saving. We didn't learn the importance to respect monies. Don't spend everything you have. Take half of it and put it away. The other half, the other half of the half you do this with, and then whatever's left over you spend on luxuries. Had I been taught that at an early age, it would have been a different story today in my life. So if there's anything I regret, is not learning the value of money and how to live with it. And yeah,
Yep, me too.
because I know how the fuck to live without it, but how to live with it and divide it to where it's always in my favor.
Yeah, and invest it and not be afraid to. There was like, see, I was brought up in differently, but in the end we were the same because my parents were very good at saving. They really were really good savers, but they were very weird with their money. They were very private. And the thing is, when you're raising children, it's important for you to be. They have to be a part of the financial. You don't have to tell them everything, but you have to teach them. You have to teach them the reason why. You don't just say, "Oh, you have to save the money," because they're going to
Yeah.
look at you and go, "Fuck that! I want to use. I made this money. I want
I
to buy
want that
myself."
lollipop that you didn't
That's
buy me
right. And,
yesterday.
and so you have to explain to them. You have to say to them, "This is why." And in the bigger picture, even they may not get it, and that doesn't mean that they will. But you still have to at least try. And money was very private with my parents. Like they did not want us to know how much they made. They didn't like us talking about it. They didn't want like any of that stuff. I remember when I got my first checking account, it wasn't because my mother or father helped me get it. It was because I started working at the bank. I was working at 16 at the bank. So I got my checking account and I figured all of that stuff out. Like my mother never showed me any of that stuff. So I was sort of learning as I went, and bits and pieces. She would say, "Oh, do this, do that," but never. It's different when you say do something, but you have to. I'm a kind of person where I really do need an explanation. Like, tell me exactly why. What's the benefits? And then if I still choose incorrectly, I'm choosing incorrectly. So for me, I also really would have loved to have invested in real estate when I was younger. When I was in my early 20s, I did have the idea of, would be really cool is to buy a two-family house. I live in the bottom, use the other apartment to pay the mortgage on the house, and never thought that that could be the start. Like I didn't need another person in my life. I didn't need to be with a man. I could just go ahead, buy that, and then once I save up my money, then I can buy another one and then buy another one. But I didn't have that mindset fully, or I did, but I wasn't fully supported on it, you know?
Mhm.
And so I think that's, if I could go back in time, I would definitely have done that because I was ready to do it. I just didn't know exactly how to do it. And again, fear is a real big, you know, it prevents you from doing so much. And especially when the people that you're around are also very fearful. I had actually remember having a conversation with my parents about that, saying, I didn't know how to do it myself, but I was encouraging. I said, listen, what if like we buy a two-family house, meaning them, not me, but because I didn't think I had credit to do it. But what if you buy a two-family house? I live in it, we collect the rent, blah, blah, blah. And my father was sort of willing to do that. My mother was dead against it, and but now see, I'm looking at it from my kid's standpoint, saying I actually would prefer that. I would like to say to my middle one, to say, hey, listen, when you're, in another 5 years, what if we, wherever you decide to be, what if we invest in a 2-family house for you? You take one apartment, we rent the other one out, and we put it in our names together, and then that will be yours. I will hand that off to you at some point. We'll get that mortgage paid. But I'm thinking of it in terms of creating the legacy, to say, okay, I want to put you into a good position. And if you're able to buy the house yourself, even better. But if you need to, because to me that makes more sense, But those are like little things that I would have done differently. I would have also. Well, here's another one. When I was in high school, I did have a really good job. Working at the bank, they had said that they would do reimbursements, that they would reimburse me for classes. Had I gone locally and actually stayed living, with my parents a little bit longer, I could have stayed at the bank, earned my, built up my credit, made money, I went to school part-time, and then got my degree, and then at that point invested. See, that wasn't also an option for me either. My father was, you're going to school full time, you are not going to work full time. When I tell you the job I had was really, I paid really well. Like I had benefits, I had paid vacation, and had, I been a different person, I could have looked at it and said, you know what, this is really too good to be true. Let me keep this and go to school part-time, or even try to make it work full-time. But you're young, you don't have those mindsets, you don't have the understanding. It takes guidance, and you came from a set of parents that didn't have that ability, because they didn't have that mindset, they didn't have it. And I really do commend individuals who are like 18, 19, 20, 21, where they figure this shit out on their own, and they don't even worry about the guidance from their parents. They just do it. I give such kudos, and those individuals really need to step up and teach people, if not formally, like mentor people, to say, this is how I did it, because you can't be afraid. I invested at 19 years old, and look where I am at 25. And that is so impressive to me. I really, really,
Well,
I'm
that's the
so
key
impressed with
word.
those types of people.
The key word is they didn't have fear. They didn't give a fuck
Yeah.
what anybody said, and they didn't allow themselves to talk them out of something. I was on my own since 17. I mean, I had my first apartment. It was $250 a month on Deacon Street in Bridgeport, my first apartment. And I bought my first couch from Goodwill for that apartment for $2.50, and had a little rip in it, and I had to put like tape on it. But that was, and living, and then with Tiff, because I was a teen mom. And then I always got apartments, and I was telling my niece last night how I would get a apartment, and whenever I didn't feel the love, whenever I felt trapped, whenever I felt like this isn't going nowhere, and after numerous conversations and zero attempt to try to get it right, I would walk away from that relationship and leave fully furnished apartments. Like my last one, at first, like years later, I was like, I really did that again. Because I left 10 years of collecting antiques. Like I have found a hutch that had a sticker on the back that was built in 1869. It was very fragile, it was beautiful. I had all my princess house crystals in it. I walked away from it. I heard he sold it. But that's the part. Like, yeah, I came from parents. This is the difference between you and I, though. So I don't know which is worse and which is better. Came from parents who are alcoholics, right? And they didn't have much, but they did not keep secrets from us. We have front row seats to their arguments, to their violence, to their fuck up shows. But we also sat at a table where everything was discussed, and there was like everything except like sexual, anything nasty. My father and my mother didn't talk about that, but they didn't hide anything that was going on with the family. And if they were in trouble, if my father was in trouble, we all were alerted to it when we didn't have money. Let me tell you something, we were welfare babies. And we knew when it was welfare time, because that's the only time we had Kentucky Fried Chicken, pizza, or McDonald's. So we knew that. But what did it teach us? To value even the simplest things in life. So if I would not go back and change anything in that part of my childhood where everything was discussed, like there was no shame in what we were going through, what they were going through, and they just didn't. They worked to survive. They didn't work to save. They didn't, it was just survival skill, I guess. But if I can go back, come on, people, nobody's saying what they would go back and change. The only thing I would go back and change is that I would have traveled more at every opportunity I had. Because I worked at SNET for 10 plus years. I worked at Career Resources for 4-something years. And it's like, what? I have nothing to show for that. But my memories would have served me better. So I think I'm Milagros and my kid's father. See? And we all have that. We can't go back and change it, but it's fun to rearrange that puzzle up here and get a good laugh out of it and say, oh my God, I would have changed that. I would like that. That's all I would have changed, is to have loved me more. And you? That's it? That's what you have, Laura?
I would have. I would have. I think I just. You know what? I would have. I would have changed. I would have been less fearful. If that's because that's the thing because that's what we've just said, right?
Yeah.
You still there? Can you hear me?
I
that's what I would have changed. That's what I would have changed. I would have changed the fear, because there were moments where I wasn't fearful in my life when I was younger, and then there was other moments where I was terribly. But that sets the tone. That prevents us from going in the direction that we would like to go to. You know what I mean? And so for sure, that's what that's what I would do. Absolutely. Because that would make the biggest difference,
I would have taken care of my food intake. I think if I can go back and change anything, it would be the way I ate. Because, trauma doesn't make us, we're not standing tall because of the trauma we suffered. We're standing tall because we learned within the trauma of how strong we are. So a lot of people think that, so I didn't suffer trauma, so I must not be strong. No, I think we've learned how to be better with ourselves to then treat other people better because of the trauma we suffered. So I wouldn't change that, but I think I would have. My biggest thing, you're right, is Iris says she wouldn't have been a teen mom. Iris was actually, when she found out she was pregnant, she had just won a scholarship to that fashion school in New York City. So I get it. Yeah. I don't know what the name is. You can put it up, Iris, but that part there, I'm happy that I was a teen mom. I'm happy that I'm 53 and I have a 36-year-old daughter and a 32-year-old son. I love enjoying my youth with their youth. Okay. But I think my biggest regret today is that I didn't learn how to value money, whether savings, and how to allow money to assist in its growth. How's that? and better food, because food became my comfort through my trauma. Food, and then the lethargy that followed it, and then I didn't have an eating disorder where I threw it up because I loved every bite, every morsel. But it was if anything, it's just as bad. It is a food disorder because I ate to quiet the noises in my head. I ate to suppress the pain that I was feeling, the confusion as a young child being molested, all of that. So I would have, that's the two things that I regret in life the most. And the third is that I didn't survive that and then say, fuck it, let me get my backpack and go. And I don't know why I didn't do that.
We're put into that position. That's what it is. We're directed, whether directly, like, or indirectly, whether our parents say it's this way or not this way. I knew in my teens that I was not a traditional person. I knew that. Like, like, if I had my choice originally, I would probably have not gone to college right away. Just wouldn't have. But I just, that was a no. Like, I was told I had no choice. Like, that was what I had to do. Like, I had to go to college. And again, while I do, I don't regret going to college. It's just that, I said that to my 18-year-old, if you don't want to go, you're better off not going just to go, especially as expensive as it is. You need to go, knowing what you want to do. And now, she's been out of high school for a little over a year. And she's now starting to say to me, I think I do want to go to college, but I don't know what I want to study. And I don't know where. And I said, well, just give it some more time, like, just think about things a little bit more. And I'm fine with that, because I don't want her to go, and it's too expensive for her to just play around and do nothing. And she's not traditional. Like, she's just like me. She's not traditional. The only difference between the two of us is that I mean, I was a hustler when I was younger. I mean, I worked. I didn't mind working. I was always thinking ways to have a job and make money. And that part, she could, she barely won, so that piece, that's the only piece that she needs to get kicked in the ass a little bit more on. But I don't know.
But how beautiful is that conversation that you can tell her exactly that? Like, college is expensive, although it's a necessity. I want you to go to college, but you got to make a decision. Don't waste time, because you can never get it back. Money can be replaced, but not time. But then don't waste the money that we have right now indecisively. So I think that was phenomenal that you said that. Look at this girl, Charlene Garcia. Buenos dias. I would have finished college and not gotten married so young.
Yeah.
See, and I love that, because, see, the badass Buddha and I were different in that, as far as when we got married and when we had kids. But look at how we ended up together. So funny. But
I know. Yeah.
Things could have been different, but would you be where you're at with the people you love the most? See, that's why it's kind of tricky to say what you would go back and change. That's why I said I would change those things, because my kids came to me early. At 21, I was a mom of 2. But they came, I guess, when the universe knew I needed it. That they were my lifesavers at certain points. And can I change anything? I would never change anything that would eliminate their existence in my life right now.
Yeah.
And Milagro says it's hard because I love my life with the ups and downs. And we should.
That's the point. Yes.
Say, if I could have, should have, would have changed anything in my yesterday, I don't know. I wouldn't even change my red hair shaved on the side, my playero, dressing like Madonna. But because we did live up and down, Milagros, that's why you're a phenomenal speaker.
Yes.
And all sex, because of what you do.
Right.
You know,
Well, and that was the whole point. That was the whole point. We know that. We know that you can't change it because who you have right now. This is more like of a fun project. Like for me, I definitely would not. I would have lived my life fearlessly, and I would not have given a shit when anybody had to say about
I
what
did
they
that.
thought was better for me.
That's
Because
how I lived it.
yeah, and that's impressive because I didn't. I everybody was always telling me what I should do, and I was stupid enough to listen. Some of them I didn't. Some of them I rebelled against. But then other people, I was too influenced by too many people. And every time I had a pretty clear idea of what I wanted and I wanted to do, and it took one person to make a comment that sidelined me. And again, that's just a combination of fear and not being believing in my capabilities. I wished I had just been that person that was just said, screw you. You know, this is my life. I don't care what you have to say. There was a couple of times that I did say that, but not to the people that I needed to say it to, you know. Um,
Yes, I loved when people challenged me since a young age. I've always taken that as a challenge, and I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll show you." Fuck out of here with that. I was always like, whatever, okay. And to me, when somebody did that, and sometimes I didn't have to prove it, but because I was raised on survival skills, when they say you can't do that, you're not smart enough, you can't watch me. So that's always been, I'm tired of that now. But look what Lydia says. She says she had a wonderful childhood, blessings, and teenage. I think, yes, I think parents before needed to talk more about sex, and now those that haven't are forced to because they're being taught by people
this
who
is
don't.
interesting.
Yeah.
I like what you did to her. I wish I wasn't so insecure. I always picked abusive, manipulative men like my dad. But then if I didn't pick them like my dad, I would not have learned. Right. Not my dad. I wish he wasn't so strict and
Bruton,
brutal. But
a
I see
brute.
now he was trying to get across. Maybe he didn't do it in the right way, but I love him for it. Yeah, well, we do what we can with the resources that we have. That's what parents do. And now that you must be strict, we also have to show love, and it's all good, right? That's
Yeah,
the point. Is we're supposed to learn from that. We're supposed to do a better job every time. And there's sometimes where I don't think I'm doing such a great job because but also because of that fear. I'm the same way, Edith. If I had been there's something about my childhood allowed me to attract the very toxic people that were in my life, whether they were significant others or if they were bosses or if they were friends. And that really did lay the groundwork for the adults that I became was my childhood.
mhm.
And there are moments where I get into that little pity space where I get so pissed off to think, things could have been so different. But then I wake up and compare them to other people, and some other people have had such horrible lives, and yet they are so much better than I am, like so far off financially, this and that. So I have to look at it and say, you know what? That's just an excuse. It still all ends up for me being fear, letting fear and what people thought of me override my abilities. Because one thing I do know about myself, and I've always been this way, I am number one, I'm resilient as hell. I always come back. There's no question. And number two is I get shit done. When it has to get done, I get it done. So for me and I knew this from an early age, if I decided to do something and I went and did it, I would make it work. Even if it wasn't working, I would find a way to allow other people prevent me from doing things. That was my own doing. I think if I could go back in time, I wish I could figure out why that happened. Like what it was about me that allowed that piece of it. Because like I said, there were moments where I was able to just not give a shit about what people thought. But the moments people started putting their 2 cents in, I would hold back. I remember years ago, this was about 15 years ago, I came up with a couple of ideas for businesses. And one of them was a really, really good idea. Actually, they both are really good ideas. And I went to this leads group, networking group. It was like at a local coffee shop, and all these women got together, and not just women, it was men too. And our goal was to sort of meet and talk, network with each other, and then share our ideas and pair off. Number one factor, the person that was leading the group was somebody that I went to high school with, who I didn't really like. And it's so funny how you go back, like you go back into that space of when, back in that time period. So I instantly went back into that feeling of less than having that person around, right? And then we pair off and I start telling my idea to this lady, right? She tells me her idea and I was like, oh, okay. And I asked her some questions and was supportive, right? I tell her my idea and she shoots it down. She's like, well, why would I want to pay for that when I can just go to this other place for free? And I was not prepared for like to fight for it, because I'm sitting here thinking this is just like a friendly networking. I left there. I felt so beaten down. I
By
felt beaten
who?
down. Well, it was really by me. It was by me, but I allowed like the feelings I had for that person running it that I knew. I allowed the person who had the comments and I sat back and I took a back step and I said, well, maybe this isn't going to work. Maybe this isn't a good idea. And I didn't go for it. One of the ideas, somebody ended up doing it and they created it. And then the other idea, I don't think anybody's still done to this day, but yeah, it was, I could, once again, just allowing somebody
Insecurity.
to
Yeah.
get in there rather than saying, and it took me years to get past that. It took me just even into the last 4 years to finally, if I come up with an idea and I'm very clear on it, I basically, I'm like, fuck you. I hate when people try to jump in and say, well, maybe you should try to do this. I'm almost to the point where maybe I don't let good information come in. So I have to be really careful about that. I have to like take a step back and say, okay, let the information come in. Let me see what I could do with it, rather than like push them away, because sometimes people are really good at helping you brainstorm a little bit and tweaking to make things better. So when I feel more resistance coming on, I'm like, okay, before I say no, just digest it a little bit. And if it's going to work, I could take pieces of it. If it's not. So I've learned that over the years for myself in the last few years. And that's how I move forward now. But again, that would have been really great to have that ability, 30 years ago. I would have been.
Well, they didn't talk about self-love and self-confidence back then. I think I learned it because I watched my parents. Although they didn't talk about it, although they were alcoholics and they fought like they were in a wrestling match, they still did what they had to do. They still spoke their truth. They walked in their truth. I'm talking about my father and my mom when we lived in the village. But and then afterwards, my father always walked in his truth, and I think they did that. They didn't have the sense, the common sense, the knowledge to teach us about money, to just teach us how to have a normal life. So it was all survival mode. But the one thing I'm grateful for is throughout my life, and if anybody here has known me that long, I've always just done what I wanted to do. I've always taken constant. What you said was very important, Badass. You said, when you decide something and people say something, you're like, fuck them, but then you don't want to miss the good opportunity. And that was so good to say, because a lot of us either go from one side of the spectrum to the other. And we do have to find a medium for ourselves, not to give them a chance to talk, but we got to give a medium to ourselves, because what are we going to use and what are we going to throw away? And to listen to something, it's totally different. And if you trust yourself and if you believe in yourself, like Monday, I woke up and I said, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. And I did it. I put it into action. And then people are like, oh, but why? Because I felt like it.
Yeah.
It's like, just like me raising my kids. So when that movie came out, I'm like, who copied my words? But because I said so. Punto y se acabó. Point blank period. Because I said so. And I think I've always been that person. Always been that person. That's what was the biggest problems in my relationships with my kid's father, even with my husband who passed away, who one day he came home from work and said, you think I could wear the pants today? Because once I know what I want, how I'm going to do it, I don't care what your opinion is. You're not going to stop me. I'm not hurting you. This is for my growth. This is for my serenity, whatever it would be. And was it extreme at times? Yeah, because we always got to find that medium. But unless someone says, like he did, can I wear the pants today? And that like was like, what do you mean? And he said it in a calming voice. He didn't yell at me because I'm like, whatever. And he said it to the point that I was like, what do you mean? Like my shoulder? I could remember that day as if it was. I said, what are you talking about? And all I saw was my mother and my father shooting at each other, punching each other. And I had to sit down and I was like, wow. Like we never realized how powerful we are. But remember, everything in extremes can be detrimental to our growth and our well-being as well. So we need people that's going to tell us something that's going to offend us, to sit us the hell down and be like, I do that. So you're right, badass. It's about having a balance for ourselves to listen and give information. And sometimes we may think we know what is the best thing for us, but it'll take somebody that we least expect, like that high school person, to come in and shake you up, because that shaking up led you to learn and become like, you're not going to worry about it. If you have an idea and somebody's like, why would you do that? Because I want to, because I believe in it. And that's it. But that experience taught you what you do, part of what you do today. So I think we just got to be open and let's not wait years to continue working on a negative that we have, that we think we have to protect because of our childhood, and just be. And I think, and I love Viva Cafe con Leche. I love its birth date. I love when we were pregnant with it until the birthing day. I love all about that because I have grown into a phenomenal person, darling. Mentally, spiritually, I see things differently. I've learned so much just from these one-on-ones, the badass Buddha and I, and then your information. And I think, and that's what life is about. It's these women coming together with different backgrounds, different upbringings, different amounts in the bank accounts, and saying, yes, I remember that. I did that. I don't believe in that. I won't do that. And then saying, oh, well, maybe let me try it, or let me stop it, or something that's going to make a change, because choices have consequences, whether they're good or bad. So choose wisely, but choose what's best for you.
Yes. And with that, that's a good way to end today. So fantastic that we are. So
I'm sorry,
thank you so much for being. No, I mean, I love it. Yes, preciosa. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here today and sharing. For those of you that posted and the comments, thank you so much for being honest and sharing. And again, it's not too late. We just have to redirect. Like maybe it's not where we need to be is to go back to school. Like some of us who said, I wish I had gone to college, or maybe it is. Maybe you want to finish that degree. You have to think about what you want now, and if you can make it happen now. Some things, they passed. We cannot make them happen now. People say, oh, you can make anything happen. If you said, well, geez, I wanted to see Frank Sinatra live. I mean, that's not gonna happen.
Oh my God, I love that.
Right. But going forward though, like you just make a list of the things, make a list of the things that you want to do, and then say, okay, you know what, am I still interested in this? And if it is, and it's important to you, find a way. Because this is the bottom line is, if it's important to us, we find a way no matter what. Yep. And if it's not, we always find an excuse. So the question is, are we using our past and our current, our present, as excuses for why we didn't do the things that we did? And if they still are important to us, then maybe it is time that we do them. And the funny part is, two of the things that I said, or the thing that I said and the thing that Gladiator Guru said, that if we could go back and change, she and I are going to have a conversation on our own, just our coaching each other, because I think that's what's transpiring for the both of us, is that the things that we actually talked about, we need to make happen now, as as at the age that we are and say, fuck it, this is just how it has to go, because things in our lives have gone in a direction that we're not 100% happy with, and we're feeling it. So if you're feeling a certain way and you're feeling like not maybe regretful or maybe not regretful, regret is an annoying thing, but if you're feeling like sad or like resentful or just not in a really good headspace all the time, then really sit back with yourself this weekend and take pause and really think about, give yourself grace and space, and think about, what is it in your life that you're not truly happy with, and can you make the change now and in the near future? Can you start in creating a change today that's going to lead you on a path that's going to make you happier?
I think when you're true to yourself, and remember the article I'm writing, if you learn how to feed your spirit kindness and gratitude and self-trust, then you're nurturing your ego with understanding and love. If you love your body, because I'm speaking to women, if you love your body, love it exactly where you are right now, with the little chichos and the fupa and the little underarm fry and the wings coming here, because you're aging and it's part of aging. Age gracefully, age in love with yourself for being who you are, where you are right now. And then unfuck your brain. Take out all those negative thoughts you have and don't replace them, but try to remove all those negative thoughts and then feel what you want, and it'll filter up. You can't just replace this and not do anything else to it. Feel it. Feel what you want. Feel it with such a passion that it becomes what you're gonna do. And then the process to get there and do it is natural. But love who you are. Love who you are today, with everything that you've been through, with everything that you went through, with the things you did not get to accomplish, and just love yourself in today. And as the badass Buddha says, it's never too late to do something. Never too late to pick up where you left off, or to even begin where the thought was born 20 years ago, 40 years ago. Just do it. Right now, you have breath in your lungs. Do it. What's stopping you? I want to take off and be a nomad. People are like, oh, but what about your kids and your grandkids? First of all, my kids are grown. Second of all, my grandkids got parents. I don't owe anybody anything. I owe myself.
That's correct.
I owe myself for being a teen mom from 17 up until taking care of my husband till he died and my mama till she died. And here I am going to be 54. It's time for me to live my life my way.
That's correct.
As Frank Sinatra sang, I'm going to do it my way.
There you go. All right. So great way to end. So thanks everybody for coming on this morning and starting late with us and going late. We appreciate it. Everybody have an absolutely fantastic weekend. We'll be back on Tuesday. With what show, I don't know, because it's not in front of me. So you'll see it. You probably go and look. So anyway, thanks everybody for coming on. And from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from the Gladiator Guru, mi gente, remember to breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.
Namaste.